Looks like we're recording. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I know a lot of you. Thank you for coming to another one of our events. This one is about the business of organic mushrooms, certification, cultivation, and success. We're going to have farmers Claudio Gómez and his business partner Joseph Chammas, who's also an organic farmer, and they have come together to create a fascinating business and agricultural enterprise here in South Florida. So, just to acknowledge the people who make this all possible, this program is supported by the U.S. Department of Agriculture through the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. FOG is the Southeast Transition to Organic Partnership Program lead organization. And, and so I'll tell you a little bit about how that program works. A lot of you guys are involved in the program. Thank you for your continued participation. Basically, we do two primary things within five key program areas. We manage a mentorship program where experienced organic farmers help transitioning farmers develop their businesses and get organic certification. And we also do in-house technical service to support those mentorships and to help even other farmers who are not set up with mentors to get certified organic as well. So if you are not involved in the program, but you do need technical assistance, you can always contact us at setop@foginfo.org. So without further ado, let me allow Claudio and Joseph to get started talking about the business of organic mushroom certification, cultivation, and success.
All right.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello. Thank you, Sebastian. Um, yeah, so this is Claudio and I'm Joseph, and we've been working together since I believe 2018, 2017, 2018. Claudio has a lot of experience with mushroom cultivation. Back in the day, he's been doing this a while. And I've been growing mushrooms here at my farm in South Florida since 2015. And then we kind of found each other in 2018, and we decided we were going to do wholesale together. So I was a market grower, and Claudio was growing also at the same time. And then we kind of found each other and basically said, hey, let's partner up and let's create a wholesale section because we had restaurants approaching me at farmers markets and approaching him, and it just seemed to work out. So Claudio will give you a quick intro on his background and what he's done, and I'll give mine too.
I started growing mushrooms back in '93 in Venezuela. Actually, that was my thesis from college, was putting together a mushroom factory, which I did, button mushrooms. I ran that for about 3 years over there before I moved to the States. Then I kind of let go of the mushroom growing for a while, and I took it up again about 10 years ago. And here we are. I love being able to go back to growing mushrooms. I've been a farmer, which is really what I have in my blood. I've done that all my life, except for when I recently moved to the States. Basically, that's it. I mean, mushroom growing is something fascinating. It's really nice. It's easy if you have the right tools. It's easy if you have the right people that you can consult with and that you can get information from. And that's what we're here for.
Exactly. I'm going to give you a little bit about our journey also. And my name is Joseph, and I have a farm called Gratitude Garden. And we started off doing everything on the Gratitude Garden. And then when me and Claudio joined forces, we opened up the wholesale department, which is GGF Specialty. So that's what we're going over today. Whereas Gratitude Garden, I was growing mushrooms on the Gratitude Garden, but I was a market grower, not a commercial grower for distributors to restaurants. I really didn't want to do that, especially not alone. It's very difficult to do everything yourself. And that's something that Claudio and I kind of figured out when we were doing this. There was no one to help us. There was no one to call. There was really no knowledge in being able to grow mushrooms in South Florida in this heat. No one had really figured it out. And we were we were the first farm to really figure this out and have longevity. You'll see a lot of farms pop up for a year, 6 months, and then disappear because you have problems. And when you have problems, if you don't know what to do, you're out of business, because chefs are not going to wait 5-6 weeks for you to figure out what your issue was and then come back to market. So, our journey started in 2018 when we started figuring out, we were started off in straw cultivation, which is the easiest way to do it, which is, oyster mushrooms, but you're limited to oyster mushrooms. You can't really grow a lot of other varieties on straw. So, when we came together, we started the straw production, and then we had a hard time finding organic straw.
It's impossible.
It's almost impossible. And we're like, why is this not growing right? Did they spray something on here? So we couldn't really find anyone honest enough to sell us real organic straw. So we decided to scrap that methodology and go to the more complicated method, which is sawdust. The beautiful thing about sawdust blocks, and I believe I have some behind me right here. You can see these. So this is a gourmet blue, and these are our 10-pound commercial blocks that we grow. And we can grow pretty much most gourmet mushrooms out of this sawdust method. It's a lot harder to do from beginning to end, and it took us years to figure it out. And it's a constant learning battle. And what we found is that if you try to do everything by yourself, it's very easy to fail and get discouraged, and then you have a problem, and then it's hard when you make a mistake in this. It's not a one-day fix. It's a 4 or 5 week fix, and by that time you're out of business. And that's what's been happening a lot to mushroom growers, especially in South Florida. So we're here to kind of bridge that gap and help farms that already are farming, that want to add mushroom production to their grow operation. And we're basically great partners because we teach you all the mistakes that you're going to be doing, and we stop you from making those, and we help save you when you make those. And right now we have, how many farms do we have right now? Like 5, 6?
6 farms that are actually active right now.
So we work with about 6 different farms that had no idea how to grow mushrooms, and we basically went in there. Claudio went in there, redesigned their room. We call him the mushroom MacGyver because he goes in there and fixes things, and people have no clue how it works, and he sets it all up so the room works optimally. And then basically we teach them how to grow. We'll bring them over here for a couple days. We'll teach them all the little tricks and tips that they need to be able to be successful in growing. And then we provide them with the mushroom blocks. So we give them wholesale prices on the blocks, and they're able to just fruit the mushrooms without having to figure out how to make these blocks from beginning to end, because that's problematic.
Yeah, that's basically where most farms will fail is exactly that. When they're trying to do the initial part, which is the substrate preparation, trying to figure out the humidity levels, what type of substrates and in what percentages to mix the substrates, depending on what type of mushrooms are growing. There is a science to that. There is a lot to learn about that. And unfortunately, there is not really a lot of information on it, at least not a lot of good information. There is a lot of people that say they know about mushrooms. I read a lot of things I found out there, and I come to realize that they're just probably Googling stuff and putting it together and putting it back online. It's not that easy, and that's exactly why we started doing what we do, which is the first part of it. Actually, my brother Rafael works with us. He runs the lab portion of it. I'm in charge of everything that's cultures, the basics. I run that, but my brother works on the part where pasteurization takes place, where the mixing of the substrates takes place after they're pasteurized, the colonization process. All that is overseen by my brother at a different location. It's another farm which is close by. Here we only grow mushrooms. We don't produce blocks or process substrates. But basically, going back to where I started, is if you're able to get a block that you can grow and have somebody that you can consult with whenever you run into issues, which you will run into issues. Actually, contamination is going to become your best friend and your worst enemy once you become a mushroom grower. That's just a reality of it. But there is ways to counteract any type of contamination as long as you know what you're doing. And that's basically what we want to do. That's what we want to teach people. We did not have that luxury. We did not have anybody to ask. We just had to learn by trial and error, and it cost us everything we had. We had to start over. I don't know how many times throughout the past few years.
Claudio and I were one of the quit 10 times, at least 10 times throughout the last 6-7 years now. Actually like 8 years now. Because we'd have a contamination issue, we couldn't figure it out, and you have to go back and look at all the steps. Okay, what was it? Did I scratch my head, put it in the spawn bag? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? So you have to, it's like a puzzle piece you have to try to figure out. And by the time you figure it out, guess what? You're out of business. So that's what we've learned. Now we have multiple grow rooms here, and we have systems in place to counteract any issues that do happen. So if they do happen, we have blocks sitting in a cooler that's staying dormant that we can pull out in emergency and put into a different grow room that's completely clean and sterilized if we realize, we've got an issue here. So that's our backup method. But these are things that we had to learn to be able to stay alive for 8-10 years of doing this consistently with restaurants. And once they put you on the menu, that's it. Like, you can't be like, I'm sorry, chef, we had a little problem. You're going to have to wait 6 weeks to get your order again. They don't want to hear that. They don't care. So, and distributors don't care. Chefs don't care. It's something that only growers will understand, because you wake up in the morning, you go into your grow room, everything's yellow. You're like, what happened? And then you're like, I have to supply these Michelin star restaurants. What am I going to do? So these are things that every grower will go up against. And the beautiful thing is, we have been through it all. We've seen it all. Somebody wrote, sorry guys, as we talk, people, you can ask questions, especially relevant to what we're talking about. So someone asked, do you always have ACs to grow mushrooms in Florida? Yes, we do, because we use insulated shipping containers. Obviously most gourmet mushrooms are anywhere between 55 and 65 degrees is a sweet spot. So we do use air conditioners, but we figured out a really clever way on keeping the temps stable, because as most of you know, in summer, you have 95, 100 degrees. Even in winter, sometimes you get 85, 90 degree days. And if you're trying to do an air exchange in the room, how do you pull cold air into the room when it's 100 degrees outside? So we figured out a way on how to do that. And we'll go into that more in depth. People that are interested in really, sinking their teeth into growing mushrooms in Florida. And we are looking for some extra farms to work with, maybe not in this specific area, because we already have about six farms. And, our goal is to take away, actually keep mushroom production here in Florida and actually not have to purchase Pennsylvania mushrooms, and, work with a bunch of farms and create a good mushroom community down here, so we don't have to rely on Pennsylvania. And we figured out a way how to do it cost effective. Somebody asked, how do you typically approach a chef or a restaurant without featuring mushrooms on their menu? That's one I'm going to go over in a minute, right after we go after, I believe Claudio is going to talk a little bit about the organic certification and the cultivation process. And then I'll get into quality control and chefs right after. So I will answer your question, Chanel. I will answer your question in a sec. But I'm going to have Claudio just continuing to go over the cultivation process and the organic certification, because that's why we're all here. And we moved to organic certification because we couldn't trust anyone to give us proper straw. So we moved to the sawdust, and now we are able to get legit organic substrate, which Claudio will go over right now.
Yeah, basically the process of growing mushrooms, it's fairly straight. I mean, you start with the spawn, which it's the equivalent to seeds when you're growing vegetables. We process that. We start that from cloning actual mushrooms. Then we propagate that into liquid cultures that goes into grain. And that grain is after being processed, and once it's mature, it's mixed with ultra pasteurized substrate, We do ultra pasteurization. Just to let you know, we do not do sterilization. I've ran trials with sterilization, and really, even though a lot of people like that, my results have been much better with the ultra pasteurization. The yields are better, and the contamination levels are less. I've tried, and I'm sticking to what we do, which is the ultra pasteurization. It's a longer process, maybe a little more expensive, but it works better for us. I mean, I've given it a couple shots, and I'm sticking to that with that. So basically, once you have that spawn, you have that substrate process. It's all mixed up. It's all this is done in a lab ambience. Everything is sterilized. You have people wearing coats, wearing gloves, breathing masks. Everything has to be super clean. HEPA filters all throughout the rooms. So once that's all processed, it's the blocks are mixed, sealed, and taken out into a colonizing room where they will spend anywhere from 10 days up to 3 months, depending on the species, before they're actually ready to grow. Once they're mature, then they will be brought out of the colonizing room, and they will be split open, exposed to light, exposed to oxygen, exposed to the right temperature and the right humidity levels, and anywhere between 5 days all the way up to about 3 weeks, you will start harvesting mushrooms, again, depending on the species you're growing. We grow most of the commercial specialty mushrooms out there. We grow all varieties of oysters: the pink, the yellows, the grays, the white pearls. That's a yellow oyster.
Yeah.
We grow Piopinos. We grow
lion's mane right here.
The lion's mane, that's a famous one right now. People love those. It's also got medicinal properties. A lot of people know it more for the medicinal properties than they do for the culinary aspect of it. But they are great to cook and eat. We love them. What else? We have the black king oysters. We have white king oysters. Basically all the varieties.
Chestnuts.
The chestnuts. Yeah. So we grow all varieties that are commercially growable. And we produce the block for those to be able to sell to other farms.
So somebody asked, what is the ultra pasteurization process?
Okay, ultra pasteurization compared to sterilization is when you sterilize, you put the substrate under pressure at 15 psi, and you keep it there for about 3 hours after it reaches the 121 degrees Celsius. That's done on retorts. You need machinery, specialized machinery, especially when you're doing large amounts. Ultra pasteurization basically just brings the temperature, the inside temperature of the blocks right to 212 degrees. That's right before boiling point. And instead of keeping it there for 3 hours, you maintain it there for at least 3 hours. Usually we run our process runs for about 12 hours from start to finish. And what that does is it kills most of the bacteria, but not all of it. And since the temperature doesn't go past 212 degrees, it doesn't burn sugars that are necessary for the mushrooms to grow. And that's where I find that the yields are better when you ultra pasteurize against sterilizing the substrate. Hope that answers the question. And then going back to the process, I was saying, I think I ended up, you put once they're mature, the blocks are matured, you bring them to the grow rooms. They'll spend up to, I don't know, 12 weeks is the most.
The chestnuts are the longest, right?
Well, the chestnuts, yeah. Chestnuts they take about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But you also have, we're doing the other ones right now we're working on, but that's not, but those are 3 weeks. Yes. Those are about three weeks. It's the whole process time takes about 3. Yeah, it's almost 5 months from start to taking the blocks out of the grow room. Autoclaving is basically, yes, when you sterilize something, you use an autoclave. That's basically what it is. You bring it's an autoclave is basically pressure cooker. A big pressure cooker. Usually it's automatic. It's not you turning the dials on and off. It does the whole process automatically. But yes, that's basically what that is. We do use autoclaves in the lab to process
Grain.
the grain, the spawn, but not to process the actual substrate.
Yeah.
Okay. So cultivation process, once the blocks are ready, they're put in the grow rooms. All grow rooms are graduated differently depending on the type of mushrooms you're growing on there. You can actually group different types of mushrooms that require similar parameters to grow in the same grow room. You have the warm weather varieties. You can have the golden oysters, the pink oysters. You can have the piopinos. All those will grow nicely together. They don't compete against each other. You don't have any interaction with the spore interaction where they try to kill the other mushroom. They can grow at around 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity levels are kept at about the same 85% 85% humidity. Lighting is the same for every single type of specialty mushroom. You have 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime.
Yeah, they do not grow in the dark, guys. I get that question every week. Do you grow these in the dark? No, they colonize in the dark, and then they fruit with 12-12.
Exactly. Us being a commercial farm, we only do one flush or one harvest out of each block, because the first harvest or the first flush is the one that produces the most. Our real estate is real expensive inside the grow rooms. Most of the time they're running to full capacity. So for us, it's more productive to just get rid of the block after the first flush and put a new block in than to leave that block sitting there to produce a second flush, which is only going to be about 25% of the amount of mushrooms you got on the first flush. So, but when you're running something smaller, you're perfectly capable of leaving those blocks to fruit 2 up to 3 times and get a lot more from each block than you would, like in our case, only getting one flush.
Yeah. Now on the lions, we definitely do double on the lions just because the second flush is definitely worth it. This is a first flush, but we'll get about 2.5 to 3 pounder.
I would say 3.5 pounds on that.
On the first flush?
Yes,
yeah, about 3.5, and then you probably get about a pound on the second. So it's definitely worth it. So you can get a good 4.5 pound on one of these commercial blocks in 2 flushes. And you can definitely sell them anywhere from $12 to $20 a pound. I mean, wholesale, I would say more like 14 a pound, 15 a pound wholesale. So yeah, you can definitely these are good money makers, the lion's mane, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So basically, that's it. I mean, after you finish harvesting your blocks, they're out. You can reprocess the substrate. You can compost it, add some nitrogen to it, and it makes great for fixing soils. It makes great for growing vegetables. Joseph uses the substrate that we reprocess to grow the organic vegetables he grows at the farm, and it does wonders. So it is really nice.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the organic certification, which is one of the main reasons we're here for, being certified organic puts you ahead of the pack. Mushrooms are imported from California, Pennsylvania, China.
Yeah.
They're not. Most of them are not certified organic. And really, when you're selling a product that's this expensive and the quality we sell, having that organic stamp on it really does a lot for you when you're talking to a chef, when you're talking to a distributor, and you actually show your organic credentials. That puts you ahead of the pack, way ahead of the pack, and they do understand why your product is more expensive than the one that comes by truckloads from other places. On top of seeing the quality of European, local, and organic, that really, really marks a big difference on what you're selling. And on top of that, I know getting into the organic world is a little bit, it's kind of difficult to get used to it. But once you get used to it, you really understand that basically what you're doing is you're forcing yourself to keep track of everything that every farmer should keep track of, but they don't. When you're organic and you get your annual inspections, you better have been keeping track of everything because you will be tested on it. And really that makes a difference because it makes you realize when you're going to have problems, ahead of you having the problems. And when you do have the issues, it's easier to track down what happened, why it happened.
Yeah.
So really being organic, even though it kind of it's a little bit hard sometimes, it's 100% worth having that certification. All right.
Perfect.
And yep. Go on to quality control.
I'm going to quality control now. So, guys, there's people selling, and I do have some questions in here, guys. I'm going to go over those real quick. Substrate is your sawdust. Yes, substrate is basically our sawdust and our organic soy hulls mixed together. That's a 50-50 mix that we use depending on the strain. Certain strains will change up the substrate, but yes, substrate is a oak wood sawdust. Correct, and it comes in pellets, hard pellets. But yes, that's to answer that question. And then someone said, what are the economics for growers, the yield versus sale? So guys, that's going to depend on the strains that you want to grow. Lion's Mane, Claudio just mentioned the Lion's Mane. Lion's Mane, the blocks are, very cost effective for what they are. They're about the price.
Right now, they're running about $9.50 per 10-pound block, which would easily yield you 4 to 5 pounds, depending on how many flushes you do on it.
Yeah.
So you can run your numbers. I mean, we sell Lion's Mane wholesale at $12 to $14 per pound every day, and we're talking people that consume quantities. I'm not talking about somebody buying 1 or 2 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm talking people purchasing 50 pounds. They will pay $12 to $14 per pound.
Sure.
So you can run your numbers from there. And same goes for all the other varieties. They all have different pricing. They all have different time that it takes for them to grow, from the moment you put them in the grow room until you can harvest them. But the numbers actually on all varieties are on your favor. If you can, some varieties will yield better than others, will give you more money than the others, but you can offset one with the other, because usually the ones that are more expensive and yield more are a little harder to grow than the ones that yield a little bit less and sell for less money.
And you guys, you do get second, third flushes, sometimes even 4 flushes on the blocks if you've got enough room in your grow room to do that. For what me and Claudio do, we just prefer to put in a new one just because we need the space. We don't have enough room. Now, if you've got room and you start off slow, let it flush 2 or 3 times, no problem. But if you start to see a contaminated block, get it out. So, those are things that we'll teach at a later date when if anyone in here is interested in growing or setting up a mushroom farm on their farm, definitely reach out to us. And then that's what we get into the nitty gritties, and we teach you all the tips and tricks that you need to be successful. Also for the organic certification, it's a lot easier when you're just buying the blocks, because poor Claudio has to do all the paperwork for the blocks, and that's the pain in the butt. So long as you're not using chemicals in the room and you're not using any, we use vinegar, and sometimes there's, little frogs that we put in the room, and the frogs are our pest control, and the organic vinegar is the pest control also. So that's for for fruit flies. Fruit flies are basically what are your biggest pests with mushrooms when it comes to insects anyway. Claudio just put in our wholesale website, ggffungi.com. You can just reach us on there if you're interested in wanting to grow mushrooms on your farm. That's what we do, and we'd be happy to help you guys. So GGF Mushroom, is it ggfmushrooms.com?
No.
At GGF, no, it's GGF Specialty Mushrooms, I believe, is the Instagram. We're gonna put our Instagram also, just so you guys can see it. It's called GGF Specialty Mushrooms. So at GGF Specialty Mushrooms on Instagram, you can kind of flip through and see some of our. Okay, we just posted it there, so you can see that. Somebody asked, did you say frogs? So guys, what will happen in your grow rooms over time is frogs, little tree frogs will get, not toads, tree frogs will get in there, and they'll hide in the little posts of your shelves, and at night they'll come out and bing, bing, they'll just start eating the fruit flies. They don't mess with the mushrooms at all. They eat the fruit flies. So those are actually really, really clever way of organic pest control. And then the vinegar also works really well. So yes, I did say frogs. We do not put them in there. They usually come by themselves. But, you know, if I see a lone one, you know, out there getting attacked by God knows what, I'll snatch them up and put them in one of the grow rooms. But it has to be a tree frog, not a toad.
Yeah, and actually, when you see frogs coming into your grow rooms by themselves, that's a fantastic sign that you have the perfect ambience for mushrooms to be growing in there.
Yeah.
They go in there because they find the perfect humidity they need, the good temperature. They just love what you created for the mushrooms to grow, and they find that very attractive. So whenever you have frogs going into your grow rooms, you're doing a fantastic job.
Sure, and then also there's no predators for them, so there's nothing going to eat them. The guys are terrified of them, but other than that,
Claudio and Joseph, let me ask you guys: do you think it's a good time for Connie to show some of the photos from the Instagram? I think she could do that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm going to go over quality control, so it's actually a perfect time to talk about that. So, guys, your competitive advantage. Here's what I hear a lot. Oh, you know, your mushrooms are too expensive, or you know, like, how can we compete with the Pennsylvania guys? How can we compete with the Chinese mushrooms? How do we? That's Claudio in action in the laboratory. And those are some of our wholesale blocks. That's the colonizing room right there, guys. That's where we let the mushrooms sit. That's our yellow room. So I wanted to go over briefly why quality control is so important. Your competitive advantage is the fact that you're harvesting it to the day that you need it, number one. Number two is you're a smaller farm. You're growing specialty varieties, and you're growing them beautifully. So your varieties, your mushrooms look perfect, you know, and that's your competitive advantage. Now, you'll get some chefs that will prefer to go to Restaurant Depot and buy the $2-3 a pound or $4 a pound crappy mushrooms that smell like cat urine. But you'll have the real ones that we work with, which are like Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, Michelin star restaurants, you know, vegan restaurants, restaurants that care and they want quality, right? So that's going to be your market, is restaurants that want quality, not necessarily the cheapest mushroom they can find, right? So you have to realize that, you know, not everybody is your market. You got to target the right people for what you have. And the gourmet mushrooms are specialty mushrooms. They're much better if you can get them, you know, picked that day or the day before. And that's the competitive advantage, because you're not competing against the Pennsylvania mushroom was harvested 5-6 days ago. You'll win that battle every time. So, you know, that's let me just make sure we have a chat in here so I can answer any questions if we're in there. Okay, there you go. So Florida market opportunities, definitely. We're looking, those are some Piopinos in there, guys. You can see the video of Pios right there. Those are a black poplar mushroom, or Pios. Those are really great woody, nutty mushrooms. So under the Florida market opportunities right now, I mean, I would stick with what we've learned, which is go after high-end chefs, restaurants. And somebody asked me that question before: how do you get into restaurants? So the best way is to make a beautiful, gorgeous gourmet box of your mushrooms. And you can do two different methods. I have a method that I usually like, is I just go straight in the back door of a restaurant and ask all the workers where the head chef is. They point me to the head chef, and I just hand them a box of beautiful mushrooms and leave my business card and say, "Chef, I know you're busy. Here's our mushrooms. We're a local organic mushroom farm down the street. We're selling to a couple restaurants in your area right here. Here's what our product. Please play with these, have fun with them. If you're interested in adding mushrooms to your menu and you need some more information, please contact me. Be happy to work with you guys." Chefs don't like to be pitched too hard, but they need to know you exist. So there's a happy medium with that. I wouldn't try to, you know, like, that's a perfect example of a gourmet mushroom box right there. Well, that's one. There's, you know, that's one variety. But you can put whatever. We do something called a chef mix, that's another one right there. Those are some Instagram posts. Those are our lion's mane. So, you know, a lot of the chefs will start off with a chef mix, and then they'll try all the mushrooms, and they'll be like, you know what, I really like the lion's mane. I'm doing a plant-based crab cake with this, or a crab cake steak with this, and then they'll add it to the menu. And then they'll just order that variety. So chef mixes are always a great way to start, and give them a little bit of information on each variety and what they taste like and what they, what you can do with them, and let the chefs do their thing. They're chefs, they're creators. They'll come up with some dish that they love, and once they find a winning dish, you'll see your mushroom sales soar. We had one account, remember, on a really high-end restaurant on the island here in West Palm. They would order like a 5-pound box of lion's mane, then it went to 15-pound, then to 30, then to 50, and then they were ordering like 100 pounds a week of lion's mane. We're like, what the hell is going on? Well, how did that happen from 5 to 100? Well, apparently they made this one dish and it just started blowing out, and everyone was ordering it, and they couldn't keep it in stock. So, chefs will play around, and they'll come up with something amazing, and then that's how you build reputations with chefs and having unique products. So chefs, like I said, give them your product, let them play with it, keep in contact, follow up with them. And usually summertime is a really good time because they're revamping their menus in the summertime. You don't want to get them in the middle of season at 5 o'clock, show up at their kitchen. They'll just kick you out the kitchen. So you want to make sure, if you are going to approach chefs, especially like cold approach them, make sure you do it between, let's say, 2 and 4 p.m. That's usually a sweet spot where they're not as busy, and you can have a chat with them because they want to ask you some questions and talk. So that's a really good way of starting off. And then obviously farmers markets, highly suggest you get into your local farmers market and start there. Chefs will come and see you over there and approach you. So those are the places where I would start. That's how we started. I've been doing farmers markets since 2014, and that's why we partnered with Claudio, is because we had all these chefs asking us, hey, we want to buy your mushrooms. I'm like, oh no, I only sell at markets, I'm not interested. And then when Claudio joined, we started going after wholesale, and opened up a lot more doors. So we're gonna pass it back to challenges and lessons learned. Okay.
Well, we actually cut into this already a little bit. Hi,
that's Claudio with a big fat Black King trumpet right there.
Yeah, funny thing about the Black Kings, now that we're looking at that picture, Black Kings, that's a fairly new variety of mushrooms.
It's the first to grow it.
Yeah,
one of the first to grow it
here in Florida, actually. Yeah, I believe we were the first ones to grow that. Yeah, it's a variety that's only been around for about 3 to 4 years at the most, and it's becoming really, really popular. I mean, chefs are really taken into that variety. It's still a little bit unstable, sometimes they grow one way, sometimes they grow another. It's not really being refined genetically, but it's a very nice variety of mushrooms, and they yield pretty nice too. Yeah. But anyways, going back to what we're going to do, challenges and lessons learned. I would say, having people like us that are willing to share their experience with other growers makes all the difference in the world. I would pay anything.
Me too. The amount of money we spend.
Oh my God. Yeah. I would give anything to, or would have given anything to have had that luxury when we started.
Yeah.
We had to figure everything out from scratch, just test and trial and error and go back to square one again.
Sure.
I don't know how many times. Now you have people like us that actually grow, that have been through the process, that have figured it out, and that are willing to share their expertise with you guys. So it's a lot easier to grow the specialty mushroom nowadays than it was when we first started.
100%.
Yes. It's, again, I cannot say it enough. I would have paid anything to have had you and I to consult
100%,
when we started.
100%. And what I did prior to joining with Claudio is I wanted to grow other varieties. So I was buying blocks from Pennsylvania and getting them trucked in. But, when you add the cost of that, your block ends up being about, $14, $15, $16, $17 a block. And it's very hard to do wholesale at that point. And then if they do get contaminated on the ride over or whatever, the block manufacturer like, oh, sorry, you're on your own. Well, with us, we make sure we guarantee your blocks so that if you are growing a block and you do get a bunch that are contaminated, we just replace them for you, and we're close by that we can do that. Yeah. So and the delivery of our blocks are pretty much free within 100 miles of our farm, and then there's a small cost on top, but it's not going to be anything like being in, buying a pallet from Pennsylvania, and then risking Russian roulette that for 2-3 days on a truck. So you never know if the truck driver let the temperature went up, and then your blocks get overheated, and then they're going to get contaminated. And that's happened a few times to us. So we made the decision to learn and do this process ourselves, which we probably wouldn't have done if we realized how hard it was and how much of a pain in the butt it was. But someone asked a good question. At what point in the business did you start creating your own substrate? Did you begin by buying from other vendors? So like I just said, before we teamed up, yes, I was buying blocks, and then I would do my own straw cultivation, but you're very limited to what you can do on straw. So we were buying blocks, but it was too expensive. So that's why we started ourselves, and we said, listen, if we're going to do this and we have to do it properly, we had to buy all this expensive equipment. We wanted to offset some of our costs to be able to work with some other farms and actually help them get up and running. And then we could land some big accounts together, like a Whole Foods account. So one of our growers in Miami just picked up a Whole Foods account, and then we're right here to help them because we want them to succeed, obviously, because we want to be able to control, to help work with all the farms in South Florida that want to grow mushrooms, and rather than having Pennsylvania mushrooms, fill this market here. They're all over the states. We would like to keep Florida mushroom growers handling a lot of the gourmet, at least the gourmets. The buttons, let Pennsylvania have the buttons, but the gourmets, we can do them here better.
100%. And something else you need to keep in mind, if you are a farmer already and you have some structures in your farm, that's something I'm really good at. It's transforming whatever you have, adapting it to make it suitable for growing mushrooms. So if people are out there, they have farms, they have buildings in the farm that they're underutilizing, not utilizing, that there is always something that can be done with that. It's not that hard to adapt a building to make it suitable for growing mushrooms. So, if you are in that situation where you don't know what to do with the building or you're underutilizing it, give us a call. We might be able to help you with that. And that makes it a lot easier on people not having to start from scratch, not having to build from scratch to be able to grow. Although, really, putting together something to grow mushrooms is not that expensive. If you want something turnkey, well, yes, you're going to have to pay for it. But if you're a little hands-on and you're able to do some of the work, I'm more than glad to guide you as to how to do it. I go to farms all the time. I look at what they have, give them my ideas, what they can do, how they can do it, and then let the people do what they want to do, get really involved in that process. And then we're there. Once you're ready, your growers are ready, I'll go over there, check them out, make sure everything is working properly. I'll tell you where to get the equipment, what type of equipment to get. And once you're ready, I'll go over there, test run everything. If you're buying the blocks from us, we'll consult with you. We'll tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. You run into an issue, we will help you with whatever knowledge we have to fix the issues you have. But more than that, we will try to help you not run into those issues. Sure. So you have a smoother transition into the mushroom growing.
So somebody asked how much space do you need? So we would recommend, obviously, a shipping container is a good way to start, unless you're just a home grower. But if you're a farm and you want to start growing mushrooms, I would get an insulated shipping container, or you can get a shipping container and spray foam it. So a shipping container would probably be the best way to start, because you can probably grow a few different varieties in that one shipping container to start. And a lot of our farms started with one. If you're a farm, if you have a steel building, if you have a building that you're not using, that's even better. But there are pros and cons with the shipping container. Well, one of the main pros with the shipping container is you have a grow room that's basically isolated from the rest. If you have a massive grow room and then you have a problem in that grow room, then you're contaminating the whole grow space. Whereas if you have multiple containers, you can You can have multiple varieties in there. You can, and you can sterilize them as you need them. So somebody asked, can you use an old trailer? Can you use a mobile home? I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, insulation's an issue. You need to be able to keep your temp. The biggest issue is, can you keep your temp at 55 degrees all year round? That is going to be what makes you a successful grower here in Florida, because we battle the heat here, and that's why there's really no mushroom growers here.
Yeah. So, what are some of the rules and regulations that are important to consider when shipping an organic mushroom harvest? Well, basically, traceability is the main thing. I mean, you produce organic mushrooms, you stamp your mushrooms, you know they're yours, you put them in your own boxes, you label them with your lot number, and it goes out, leaves the farm, be it in your trucks or in the trucks that come pick them up. You have to be able to trace all that all the way from when you started growing it to all the way to when you sold it to whomever is going to use it at the end point. That's the main thing, is the traceability aspect of it. So there is nobody throwing mushrooms in there saying they are when they're not organic, but saying they're growing them organically when they're not. So that's basically the main aspect of it, is the traceability, to guarantee that you actually are selling an organic mushroom.
Right. Now, guys, I wanted to show you. You see right here, where's the sticker? Right here. So we have a sticker right here. It's called. There's a lot number. There's a batch number, lot number, the date on it, and everything. So when our growers get their mushroom blocks, there's batches on there. So what happens is, what you're supposed to do under the organic certification, which Claudio is going over, is that those blocks go in the grow room, and then when you harvest from those blocks, you write down it came from this batch number of the blocks that you got from us. So we have all the information on how those blocks are made, and you just have to keep track of, okay, these mushrooms from this date came from this batch number of blocks, and then you put it down in the document so that you can trace back if any issues happen or you want to know where they came from. It's all written down. So, and Claudio will go over that in greater detail if it is something you guys are serious about doing and you want to implement in your farm. That's a class. Typically, what we do here at the farm here, this is a Gratitude Garden farm, where we grow also. We have a glamping retreat also, and we do educational retreats for growers too. So if we have enough people interested, we'd open up a weekend where Claudio and I will teach you guys everything you need to know to be able to go home and set this up. So that's more technical stuff that we would get into. But honestly, the hardest part is done for you. You just have to learn how to grow mushrooms in the room. And once you have everything set up, it's pretty much automation and just doing certain steps in order for them to grow properly. Harvesting is important. You might have to harvest twice a day if you want beautiful mushrooms. Some people will harvest in the morning and then they won't come back till the next day. You're not going to have perfect mushrooms all the time, because mushrooms don't wait for you. They don't care. When they're ready, they're ready. You have to harvest them.
Claudio and Joseph, I'd also like to open up the opportunity for folks to come off of mute and ask you these questions, and maybe have a little back and forth as well, because I see we have kind of a complicated question from Lana in there, and if she wants to chat with you guys, I want to.
Yeah, so okay. Yeah, I mean, we do that all the time. I mean, we have 6 farms that had no idea how to grow mushrooms, and we got them up and running, and now one of them is about to go into Whole Foods.
Yeah, and actually, now that you're asking that question, we did actually at one point. I believe he no longer is doing the mushrooms. I believe he left the country, but we had a person up down in Hollywood that was he set up a small farm in his house in the grow tents. That was 2 years ago. He was purchasing. Yeah, he was purchasing about 25 or I don't remember, 25 to 50 blocks per week, and he was actually producing the mushrooms in his grow tents at home, and he was doing 1 or 2 farmers markets and selling the mushrooms, and he was doing quite all right. He was from England, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I think he went back home.
I
haven't heard from him again, but he did that for a good amount of time, and he was doing pretty well. So, we did help him out. We kind of guided him as to how to set up the grow tents he had at home. and he started buying the blocks, and he was doing nice. So I think that does answer your question. I mean, we are a commercial operation, so going anything under 50 blocks a week, it's kind of hard for me to dedicate a lot of time. I'll be more than glad to answer a few questions and give you some guidance as to how to start. But on a commercial level, that's really what we emphasize on.
Sure. Now you can go get a grow tent. You can get like a cannabis grow tent that is the same kind of tent that you would use, and you can put a couple shelves in there. You put up a fan, a little misting system, a little humidifying system, and then you just put our blocks in there and cut it up, and it does the work for you. So that's pretty easy to do. So you can do farmers markets with that. We have a few small growers here that we don't work with that actually just grow in their backyard, in their tent, and then they go to the farmers market and sell the mushrooms at the farmers market. So you can technically do that. Obviously, we're looking to work with some farms that actually want to really get into it and start selling to their restaurants. But we're happy to work with home growers too, no problem. You can still grow quite a few mushrooms in a tent. Just so long as you're doing a market, you'll be able to sell them. Somebody asked, what's the easiest mushrooms to start with? It depends on your setup, but the blocks pretty much do all the work for you, so long as you have the room dialed in right. I mean, pretty much all of them will grow beautifully.
Yes.
I mean, lines is pretty simple. Once you do them, they take a little bit longer than the blues and the yellows and the goldens. I mean, the pinks. Oyster varieties are pretty easy to grow. Lions are pretty easy to grow. They're all pretty easy once you purchase the blocks. They grow pretty easy.
Yeah, keep in mind that the hard part of this is actually producing the blocks. That's where the big issues arise. Once you have a colonized block ready to be cut open and exposed to the elements, so it grows a mushroom, it's really a no-brainer. As long as you keep the parameters correct for the specific type of mushroom to grow. That's my advice to anybody that wants to get into mushrooms is start by growing mushrooms. Don't start by trying to produce substrate and spawn and trying to do everything from scratch, because that's where people fail. I mean, it's if you want to start off, and then once you know how to grow mushrooms, you want to start testing the waters with producing your own blocks, that's perfectly fine. But if you start trying to do everything from scratch, chances that you're going to get discouraged and quit are very high.
Yeah. I mean, we're just stubborn. That's why we didn't quit. But believe me, we both wanted to many times, because we had no one to call. We would call other mushroom growers and they'd be like, sorry, nothing we can do for you. No one really had any answers for us. Can you grow them outside easy, and would you grow them under my veggies? I'm USDA organic service. Okay, so
you're in the winter.
So you can. We actually have a grower. Actually, he's a really good guy. We really love him. His name's Andrew. He's called the Shroom King. He's up in where is he out of? Or near Orlando area.
South of Orlando. Yeah.
So he's actually working on a bunch of grow rooms right now, but he's been growing all season in an outside tent. I don't know how the hell he's doing it, but he is, and he's growing it outside in a little hoop house in the shade. And he's able to grow pretty much all year round certain varieties. So yes, you absolutely can grow on there, guys. I believe we already put in the chat where you can contact us. So if you go to the website, which I believe is
www.
Yeah, we'll put it again in the chat.
Fungi.com. So you can go on this webpage. And there is a contact information link in there. You can just contact us through there, or you can go on the Instagram and just let us know that you're interested in talking with us, and somebody will contact you. Either Joseph or myself will contact you, and go over whatever information you need.
Sure. And if we have enough people that are interested in opening up the mushroom side, then we'll probably open up a 2-3 day growers retreat, so you guys can come over and we'll teach you everything you need to know.
Shipping to the Midwest, it's possible depending on the amounts, because it's just going to be the shipping costs that make it probably good or bad, depending. If you're doing a full truckload, there is probably going to be no issue whatsoever.
They need to be refrigerated. So
Yeah.
that's the issue. And then there's a cost for that. So, you know, that's why we try to stay within Florida, but we'll be okay to go a little bit outside. We just need to figure out the shipping for that.
Exactly. And contact us and we can discuss that further.
100%. 100%. Guys, thank you so much. Does anyone have any last questions for us? We're good.
All right, guys. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And I hope I can see you guys shrooming very soon.
Yeah, Claudio and Joseph, thank you very much on behalf of FOG. It was great for you guys to share this time with us.
Pleasure. Oh, I think we got one last question. What's the shelf life? Are you talking about the mushroom or the blocks, guys? There's two different questions.
If it's mushrooms, they go anywhere from 4 days all the way up to maybe 10 days, as long as you keep the cold chain intact.
Yeah,
and that's basically what it is.
For blocks, what I used to do back in the day, which works, it's not optimal, but it does work, is if you buy a pallet of blocks and you stick them in a walk-in cooler, they'll stay dormant. They'll stay dormant until you take them out and then cut them up. So you technically can.
Yeah, 1 month, 2 months, they'll be fresh enough to use.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, fellas, for participants.
Thank you.
We will have a video of this for SC Top participants to view afterwards. And if your friends, you know, people who wanted to make it but weren't able to, you'll be able to share it with them, and we will as well. So thanks again, fellas.
Perfect.
All right, guys.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.